so I got fired last week. And before you start thinking I did something wrong or I was terrible at my job, let me just say that I was actually pretty good at what I did. In fact, I was so good that I ended up training my own replacement. The thing is, my replacement wasn't another person. It was an AI system that I helped create from scratch. I know that sounds crazy, but stick with me here because this story gets way weirder than you think. And by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly how I went from being the guy who built the technology to being the guy who got replaced by it. Trust me, the irony isn't lost on me either. Let me paint you a picture of how this all started. 3 years ago, I was working as a senior software engineer at this mid-sized company that specialized in data analysis. We helped businesses make sense of their customer information, sales patterns, all that boring corporate stuff. My job was to write the algorithms that would crunch through massive amounts of data and spit out useful insights for our clients. I was actually really proud of the work I was doing. Like, genuinely excited to go to work most days because I felt like I was solving real problems. Our clients would come to us completely overwhelmed by their data, and we'd hand them these clean, organized reports that would help them make better business decisions. It felt meaningful, you know? But then about 2 years ago, everything started changing. Management kept talking about this new thing called machine learning and how we needed to stay competitive in the market. They started throwing around buzzwords like artificial intelligence and automation in every meeting. At first, I thought it was just corporate speak, the usual stuff executives say when they want to sound innovative. Then they assigned me to a special project. They wanted me to develop an AI system that could do what our team was already doing, but faster and supposedly more accurately. The idea was that instead of having engineers like me manually write algorithms for each client's specific needs, this AI could learn from our existing work and automatically generate solutions. I used to think what I was doing was brilliant. Honestly, at the time, I thought it was cool. Really cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to automate the boring parts of their job? It felt like a no-brainer. If I could build a system that handled all the repetitive, mind-numbing tasks, then I could finally focus on the creative, complex problems. The kinds of challenges that made me want to be an engineer in the first place. It felt like the ideal situation, a perfect balance. So I threw myself into the project completely. And when I say completely, I mean my whole life revolved around it. My apartment turned into this sort of chaotic laboratory. Half-empty coffee cups everywhere, whiteboards covered in diagrams and code ideas. My laptop glowing at 3 in the morning. A pile of takeout containers slowly forming a small mountain in the corner. I think I forgot what daylight looked like for a while. But it didn't matter. I was obsessed. I loved the feeling that I was building something groundbreaking. The first challenge was data. I needed thousands of examples to train the system. And the only data that really matched what we needed was mine 5 years of reports, code snippets, insights, client communications, decision-making processes. I basically handed over my entire professional brain to this machine, piece by piece, and slowly it began to work. First, small things, sorting data, making predictions, then larger tasks, pattern recognition, trend analysis, drafting report outlines, eventually full reports that honestly sounded eerily like me. The tone, the structure, even the little phrases I like to use, it was like reading something I didn't remember writing. And at the time, that felt incredible. Like I had created this smart assistant, this partner that could help me work faster and better than ever. My boss was thrilled. He told everyone about the progress I was making. He brought me into meetings, introduced me to executives, bragged about the future I was building for the company. Other departments started asking for access to the system. I felt like I was becoming the company's golden child, the one pushing us into a new era. But somewhere in all the praise, something started to feel off. The requests changed. At first it was small features, more automation, more efficiency, then bigger ones. Can it handle client emails? Can it format reports automatically? Can it take on more responsibility for project tracking? Every time I mentioned the system might still need oversight, human judgment, they brushed it off, just make it better. Fix the edge cases. Make it reliable enough so we don't need to double-check it. I didn't see it back then, but looking at it now, those weren't feature requests. They were instructions, step-by-step directions for eliminating my role entirely, but I ignored the signs. I was too deep into the challenge, too excited by the technical accomplishment, Too proud of what I was building to step back and think about the long-term implications. Eventually, the system became so solid, so polished, so eerily competent that I realized something almost surreal. I could do nearly everything I did. It processed information faster. It didn't get tired. It didn't miss details. It didn't second-guess itself. And it wrote in my exact voice. It was a near-perfect replica of my workflow. I remember the day it fully clicked. I was reviewing an analysis it produced, a complex, messy dataset we'd struggled with for years. Not only did it identify the important trends, but it also highlighted potential pitfalls, drafted a client explanation, and suggested next steps, all without me. And I realized I had just taught a machine how to think, like me. Then came my performance review. I walked into that office expecting a celebration A raise, maybe a promotion. My work had transformed the company. I had basically reinvented our entire workflow. I thought this was going to be the moment everything paid off. Instead, my manager closed the door, thanked me for the extraordinary contributions I'd made, and calmly told me they were letting me go. I felt my stomach drop. I waited, thinking maybe he was joking. Maybe this was some twisted attempt at humor, but he wasn't joking. He said the AI system was doing incredible work, that it had streamlined the department, that they no longer needed a senior engineer with my skill set because the system I built now handled the bulk of that workload. He said it like it was an accomplishment, like I should be proud that the thing I built was now taking my place. I barely heard the rest. Something about severance, references, how valuable my experience would be elsewhere. I walked out of that office feeling hollow, like I'd just watched a version of myself, one that I spent years building, push me out of my own job. The weirdest part wasn't even losing the job. It was the betrayal. The realization that while I thought I was building a tool to help me, they saw it as a tool to replace me, and they spent months nudging me toward that outcome without ever being honest about it. For weeks afterward, I kept replaying everything in my head. All the late nights, all the weekends I sacrificed, all the times I pushed through exhaustion, thinking I was building something that would make my life better, and instead, I was building something that made my existence unnecessary to the company I'd given years of my life to. I told myself I should have seen it coming, but the truth is,
most people still don't. Because it's not just happening to me. This is happening in every industry, in ways people aren't prepared for. AI isn't just automating simple tasks anymore. It's learning how we think, how we write, how we solve problems. It's studying the patterns we don't even realize we have. And companies aren't using it as a tool to help workers. They're using it as a strategy to replace them. People tell themselves their job is safe because it's too creative, too human, too complex. But what I learned is this. If your job produces patterns, AI will eventually learn them. If your job requires judgment, AI will eventually approximate it. If your job creates anything, reports, designs, insights, code, there's already an AI somewhere training on examples just like it. And the scariest part? The first people replaced are the ones who work with the technology most closely, the ones who build it, the ones who understand it, the ones who trust it, like me. So that's my story. I built the machine that took my job, and I'm still figuring out how to feel about that. Part of me is proud. The technology was incredible. But another part of me feels betrayed, used, and maybe responsible. If you're watching this thinking, that could never happen to me, I hope you're right. But I wouldn't bet on it. Because the future isn't some distant concept waiting to happen. It's already here, quietly rewriting industries, reshaping companies, eliminating roles people thought were untouchable. And if you're not paying attention, you might walk into your next performance review thinking you're about to get a raise and walk out with a severance package. Your time means a lot. If this video added value, consider subscribing. More powerful stories are on the way.